Hello there, sweet friends. This is Gina, and welcome to Stellar J Studios. I've had a lot of questions recently about how I take an old book and turn it into a journal with a signature or multiple signatures. And so I thought I would walk you through the process. I made this one earlier today, finished it up. I started it yesterday, finished it up. And I have some more books. These are smaller in size, but I have some more books, and I thought I would walk you through the process as we turn one of these into a journal. So let's talk about books. Now, I know a lot of people don't like to cut into old books because they are worried that it's like precious and they don't like to destroy books. And I know I've talked about this before, probably years ago when I first started my journaling process. But here is the thing. Here is the thing. The thing is, there's a lot of trash in the world. There is a lot of stuff that we think is trash, and we send it to the landfill. There is a lot of things that we, meaning me, believe are wonderful, beautiful, and should never be sent to the landfill. But the harsh truth is that they do. And I know this because, well, I've witnessed it. Being a teacher, I know what happens to books in the library when they are no longer needed or they're outdated. Having connections with people that work in like bookstores and recycling centers, I'm telling you, books go to the landfill. And it's unfortunate, and it makes me very sad. But it also gives me hope, and it makes me feel very, I don't want to say happy, but I mean, of course, happy, but it makes me feel very useful when I can take a book that is destined for the trash and I can recycle it, upcycle it, turn it into something new, give it a new life, give it a presence of beauty and can like hold a place in someone's heart again. So I have no problem cutting into books that I know are going to the trash. And these books right here, I know were headed to the trash. So I am going to turn one into a journal. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is, it's a hardback book. It is, I've already established it was going to go to the trash. And so I am going to take out, this is called a text block. I am going to take this text block out. And what I look for when I look for books to put into the trash, or that to turn into a journal, is one, was it going to go to the trash? And two, how's it bound? And so if you see this little gap right here, that means that this was, this is a hand bound, or not hand bound, but it's stitched. So this text block is made up of signatures. And I'll try to reference the videos that I did a long time ago on the parts of a book and all that good stuff. But those little ridges, those are the signatures. And so this book has a lot of signatures. And those are folded pieces of paper that essentially make up the journal. So if you look at this little journal that I made right here, it has one signature. Okay, so I turned this book into a one signature journal. Now, the text block that came out of this is this right here. So this is what came out of the journal when I gutted it. And these pages were they're like paper thin. And that's another reason why you might want to turn a book into a journal by cutting out the text block. Sometimes I leave it in and I alter the book, but this time I'm cutting this text block out because these pages are not the pages that I like to journal on. They're too frail, they're too fragile, they tear easily. They're not going to hold paint and glue and stickers like I like them to. Now, some people like pages like that. I am not that person because I'm very hard on my journals. So I'm going to take this one out because this paper is not something that I would want to journal on. It's not going to, it wouldn't be a good altered book. And I think it's going to be better if I just cut the text block out and use this as a, use the cover as the cover of my journal. So what I'm essentially going to do is I need to get this away from the book. I need to, sorry, I need to remove the cover from the text block. And I'm going to use a craft knife or a utility knife. And I'm just going to go down this crease right here, or this edging right here. But notice how I'm keeping my blade parallel to the book cover and parallel to the back of the text block. That's because I don't want to cut through to open this up right here. And I have done that many of times. Sometimes there's not enough space to get my knife in, and sometimes I just I go a little quickly. But if you hold it parallel, so not like this, but like this, if you hold it parallel, you should be able to just run down that seam and you should be able to pull it apart. Now this one, again, is, you know, it was not adhered to this. This is the text block, and the cover was actually just held right here in this seam. Okay, so it allowed for this space, and that's what allows your book to open and close and all that good stuff. So now that I have this one off, and believe it or not, the first one is usually the one I do better on. It's the second one that I usually mess up and I'll cut through, and that's because I'm trying to do it too fast. So I like to figure out where I'm going to go through. I think I'll just go through right here. And again, I want to keep my craft knife, and this one's kind of hard because you got your cover and it's pretty floppy right now, but I want to keep it parallel. Okay, I don't want to cut into this out here, so I want to angle my knife, make sure I'm still in frame. I'm going to make sure, or I'm going to angle my knife, and I want to go parallel and just try to gently break through. And so what I broke through was, there's actual, I don't know if you've ever taken a book apart, but on the spine of a book, ooh, this is perfect. Oh gosh, look at this. Okay, so this fabric right here, this is kind of like cheesecloth. It's book cloth, but it's similar to like a cheesecloth in where it's woven. And this is what is glued. The signatures are glued to this. So then they put a piece of paper over it. Well, this fabric, this cheesecloth-like fabric, actually goes out here underneath these pages. So if I were to pull up this, you would see that there's some of that cloth. See, I want to leave that. I don't want to rip that because that's how this was held together. So they like glued it in, and then once they glued that down, then they put the end papers over it. But I don't want to disturb that, because then what happens is I'm left with just cardboard. And I don't want that to be seen. I'm going to still use these end papers. So I'm going to just really quickly, where I pulled this up, I'm just going to run some glue right here just to keep it down. I'm going to actually end up and cover it in a minute. Now, this book is in pretty good shape. Some books do not fare as well. pull out, so these are my Reader's Digest books, and sometimes these guys can be really hard to cut down because they're old and crinkly, and some of them are starting to, disintegrate, and plus I get really wonky with my cutting, and sometimes I cut too deep, so it doesn't matter I'm okay with what the spine looks like, because what I'm going to end up and do is cover the spine anyway, and I will reinforce anything that I might have damaged. Now, on my channel, when I have made journals with you guys before, I know I have said, and I stand by this, there are a lot of journals out there that are not going to fare very well because they don't have integrity with your spine and your papers. Those are the two things that are going to make your journal stand up to whatever you do to yours. Like those of you that have been here with me for a long time, I am just very hard on my journals. There is watercolor, there is paint, there is oil pastels, there's stickers, there's tape, there's all kinds of stuff that I put in my journals, and thick. I bulk them up. And so I have to have a journal that's gonna have some integrity and not fall apart on me. I have learned over, my gosh, I've been doing this 15, 16 years now. I have learned, longer than that, but whatever. I have learned that the two most important parts are your spine and your papers. So I'm going to fortify my spine. You can do this with tape. You can do this with masking tape. I have done it with masking tape before. You can do it with fabric. You can do it with paper. I've done all the methods. Today I'm going to use, this is some book tape, and it is adhesive on one side. I get it off of Amazon. I believe it's called Linco, perhaps. And I'm going to use it just because it's easy. And it's also this is fabric on one side, and it's really sticky. So I know it'll give me a good adhesion to the spine. And then I could actually leave it, and I have done that in the past. So here's one of my Reader's Digest books, and you can see this is the book tape that I put in, and I just left it. I just went over it with some ink and stuff. But today I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to cover, oh my gosh, I haven't seen this in forever. Oh my. I wonder when this was. Oh, wait, hold on. Here's a date. Maybe. I thought there was a date. Oh, 20. Oh, okay. These were my COVID journals. So I made a whole bunch of these, and yeah, sometime I'll show them to you. Okay, so anyway, I am going to put this down to fortify my spine. And then I'm going to actually cover it up with some fabric. So let's put this down first. So I want to reinforce right here. Again, this is a pretty sturdy book, but I just want to go ahead and give it a little bit of extra stick. And so I'm just going to lay this down. I'm going to make sure I push it down into the little cracks and creases. And then I'm going to burnish this with just the side of my scissors. Because it says on the packaging for this book cloth or book tape that it requires pressure and heat to activate the adhesive. So that's what I'm going to do. So there we go. All right, so there's one. I'm going to do the other side. And then they'll overlap here in the center, which is great because that'll just give my spine another layer when I go to bind in my signatures. And with this spine being wider, I think I'll probably make this a 3 signature journal. The one I made earlier that I showed you, that little one, the spine was just too narrow, and I didn't want to overstuff the journal. So that's why I just went ahead and made it a 1 signature. Okay, so now I've got that. Cool. It's nice and fortified. If it was thinner, I might put another layer, but it's good. It's nice and thick. It'll do what it needs to do. So this is a quilt top. This was actually, again, this was a video I posted years ago where I unpicked a quilt that I found, and underneath, so unpicking a quilt is when you take an old quilt and you literally you pick the stitches. It always seems like it's the backwards of unpick. It seems like I'm picking, but it's called unpicking. So I unpicked the top layer, and underneath was another layer, and underneath that was another layer. I think all in all, there were like 7 layers to this quilt. And that's a sign of an old quilt, when they just keep using the same foundation and just adding more and more fabric and quilt blocks over top. So this was I think this was the top layer, and it's fragile, very, very fragile. But once I glue it, it'll be fine. So I'm going to use this as my cover on my spine. Okay, so I've got to figure out how, like, I was able to do this all in one piece, so I was able to just wrap it around, but this one, it looks like I'm going to have to piece it together a little bit. So I'm going to fiddle around with this and figure out how I want this. And you'll see, okay, first of all, this was hand stitched. You're going to also see how fragile this is, because the fabric, yes, is going to tear very easily. Okay, so there's that. I'll go ahead and take that piece off. And then there's a little bit of batting, and I'll pull that off because we don't need that bulk. And honestly, I think it would be so cool just to have, like, flip this over and see the stitching, like the hand stitching. I like that. So I may try to maybe flip one of these over so that we can see some of that hand stitching, the backside. I know I've said this before, but whenever I find old pieces of needlework or quilting, sewing, I always think that the backs are just as important, if not more important, than the fronts, because the backs are where all the messy stuff is, and that messy stuff is evidence that someone was there. There was some energy going into that, and it's evidence of the love and the time and the effort that went into creating it. And I always love to see that evidence. So I think I'm going to show that evidence here. I think I'm going to do that. All right. So, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this one first. Now, this just happens to work out pretty perfectly. I like that. If you wanted to go with some narrower fabric, that's cool. But I kind of like the thickness of that one. So I'm going to grab some glue. So I have made journals where I've just used an Elmer's all-purpose glue stick. That's my #1 favorite glue stick. It's the all-purpose, not the school glue. You could use some medium. You could use this, but it's going to be really wet. And I'm going to use Fabri-Tac this time. You could use Mod Podge. The thing about Mod Podge is, one, I don't have any. I just used all of it. I need to get some more. And two, when you use Mod Podge, it's going to dry very hard. So if you're looking for something hard, like your cover is going to be very hard, and that's cool. And I've made journals like that. But for this one, I feel like I want it to be kind of soft. So I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac. This is an alcohol-based glue, and I usually have the worst time with this. It'll work great the first few times I pull it, I open it up and, start using it, pull off this little safety seal. It usually works great. But then it starts to dry out, and oh my gosh, it drives me insane trying to get it out of the bottle because it gets real thick. And I am so determined not to waste anything. And I feel like it's kind of expensive too, but rightfully so, because it does work very well. But so I'll sit here and try to get every little bit out, even if it drives me insane and I'm beating on the table with the glue bottle trying to get the glue to come out. So I'm just going to kind of push it down to hold it in place right now. I'll make sure, I'll go over it here in just a second and make sure I do a better job. But for now, this is all I'm going to do. So I could put this here and fold over, put this here and fold over. And I kind of like that. Oh, I forgot I was going to flip it this way. And I think it'll be okay. I don't think there's going to be, oh, wow, check that out. That's kind of cool. I don't think there's going to be too much bulk right here. I think it should be all right. Yeah. And then it's going to show this, and there's a little bit of batting there. I'm going to take this little piece of yarn off because that'll be very bulky when I try to glue it down. See, there's no other ones. Okay. All right, so now just gonna put this on here. Now, guys, I'm just showing you how to do this book. And again, this book is in really good condition. And this is what I have found after making many, many, many journals, is that your technique, your supplies, your formula, how you put this together, and the decisions you make, and the glues that you use, and the fabrics and all that stuff, it really comes down to, for me at least, it comes down to what does my journal need. So right here, I'm starting to see, okay, this alcohol-based glue is causing this red to run. Now, I'm a messy person and I love when I have happy accidents. So this is cool. To me, I'm like, okay, this is cool. I'm going to let this run and we're going to see what happens. We're going to go with it. We're not going to freak out. Again, I'm letting this journal and the materials I have, the book and all that good stuff, I'm letting it dictate to me how this is going to work and what I need to do next. It's kind of like making journals is kind of like when I was a teacher, a public school teacher. And I did not like lesson plans. Now, don't get me wrong. I made lesson plans, but my plans were very loosey-goosey because you can spend an entire weekend making your lesson plans for the next week. But if something happens, and stuff always does, let's say the kids don't understand, or let's say you they needed a little extra learning of something, and so you had to take a little sidestep and go back and reteach another concept before you could move on with your lesson. Things like that always happen. Or maybe the kids already knew it and you needed to, okay, well, we got to go farther with this. So I like to just kind of make this loosey-goosey plan of, okay, here's what I want to do. Here's my goal. And then I'm going to take the day by day. I'm going to let in the case of me teaching, I'm going to let the students and what we get done each day dictate what I'm going to do the next day or what I'm going to do the next minute. I'm not going to be so rigid in those plans that I can't go back, review, reflect, and make adjustments. So my journal making is very similar to that. I have a plan. I want to turn this into a journal. Now, sometimes my plan does not work. Sometimes I turn what I think is going to be turned into a journal, I'll turn it into something completely different. And that happens quite a bit. But ultimately, I have my goal. And then what I have to do is I have to ebb and flow. I got to see where things are heading. And I need to not be so tight and rigid with my plans, and I can adjust and make all kinds of different changes and things like that. And that's, to me, that's what makes my journals is because I don't always know what they're going to look like at the end, because so much of it is I'm making it up as I go. For example, this is adorable. I love this. And so I think, was I planning on this? Oh my gosh, no. But now that it's here, okay, I think that's kind of cool. So I'm going to try to figure out how I want to incorporate this as part of the cover. So yeah, so there you go. And that's just stuff that you learn along the way of making something over and over again, or being an artist and creating over and over again. You just kind of, it becomes second nature, and you kind of figure out that, oh my gosh, there's going to be problems, there's going to be roadblocks, so I'm just going to have to use what I know to figure out solutions to these problems so that I can reach my goal. And sometimes they're not problems, just sometimes like this, they're just happy little accidents, and that's kind of cool. All right, so there's my glue, and it takes a second for it to dry. And like I said, it's an alcohol-based glue, so it's got a bit of a smell to it. So now, there's my cover. I want to maybe add some stitches, quite possibly. So I love everything, but this is a little too plain for me. Those of you that know me, you know I like crazy and wild and unexpected. So like on this one, there's some paint, chalk pastels. There's actually glitter. I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's some glitter. And so, yeah, and then I did a little bit of stitching. All right, so we're good with this. I think I will maybe put in a few little spots for some fabric or some stitching. I went and pulled out a couple of things. So I have a lot of these little fabric yo-yos. Some of them are ones that I made, and then some of them are ones that I've just kind of collected over the years. And I kind of like them on here, but this is a little too formal for me, and I need to add something funky and whimsical. So I had this sitting out I'll see what I can do with this. And I add a little, I don't know, a little something unexpected. I always like to throw in something wacky, something that maybe doesn't belong. So we'll see. Again, that is my style. Now, someone may look at these fabric yo-yos and they're like, oh, perfect, I want to put them on there, and then everything looks awesome. That is just not me. And as much as I try to do stuff like that, it just, yeah, I don't know. I'll look at it and I'll complete it, and I'll then look at it and I'll be like, okay, that's really pretty, but that's not me. And it just, I don't know. There's just something about knowing your own style. And a lot of times I'll have, and it's hard, but a lot of times I'll have to walk away from something and, you know, come back to it. And if I come back to it and I'm like, ugh, what, that's not me. Then I'll know, okay, I don't know what I was doing there, but I need to go and put a little bit of Gina in there. So I'm just playing around with these, trying to see what I could do with them, and try to put a little whimsy in this, a little wacky whimsy in here. Let's see. Let's take this again. And I like to have a lot of interest in movement going on also in my work. So colors and shapes, movement, like so my lines. I like it to be all over the place. I am definitely not a line everything up type of person. And yeah, that's just not me. That's never been me. And so going back to teaching again, same thing in teaching. I hated bulletin boards. Now, I didn't have to do them when I taught middle school, but when I taught elementary, I hated bulletin boards. Not because I didn't want to display my kids' work. That was totally not it. But it was because I could not line everything up and make everything nice and neat. I couldn't even stay within the 4x6, or I don't even know, spot that the bulletin board was in. I couldn't even keep my stuff in there. So whenever I would do a bulletin board, it would be like I'd have stuff going outside, and I'd have stuff going down the wall or up above, and like it became a piece of art. And once I was able to get past the fact that, okay, it doesn't have to be like this, yeah, then I loved doing bulletin boards. But people who didn't get that, other teachers would look at that and be like, oh my gosh, she's crazy. And it definitely would freak some of them out, because a lot of teachers are that nice and neatly lined up type of person. And oh man, did I give some people some serious anxiety. Not that I meant to, but it was just like, yeah. Yeah, this I gotta do Gina. I can't do anybody else's style. I gotta do Gina. And my kids loved it, because so many of them felt that same way. Like, this is not my style. This is not what I do. And you know, a lot of kids, I'm gonna be honest with you, had trouble in school because they weren't that lined up, nice and neat type of person. And yeah, so I had quite a few kids that were like, you know, Miss J, that's awesome, because now I can kind of see that You don't have to be the same as everybody else. You can color outside the lines, and so yeah, there you go. And that's when I really learned to embrace it, because I just wasn't happy if I had to keep everything nice and neatly lined up. And I swear to you, I never, in all the 28 years I taught, I never had my desks in rows where they're all facing the front. Like I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And I'm not here dissing on teachers that did. It's just that was not me. And if I walked into a classroom like that, it did not feel like me, and I did not feel comfortable. And so yeah, I couldn't do that. I always had to go my own way. that's just kind of how I've always been. If I try to fit into the mold that is out there, then I can just tell you right now, it's not going to work. And it makes me very crazy. And yeah. Okay, so I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm really just focusing on talking to you guys right now. So I'm not even really paying attention. I just knew I wanted to add some color or something to these guys because they were a little too stark for me. So I used just a watercolor pencil, and then just some blue craft paint, which cool. All right. Now, this is going to freak some people out, and I'll be honest, it's going to freak me out too. But let's just see what happens when I add some of this paint to this cover. So I want to go, let's grab a brush. Ooh, here's one. All right, let's just grab a little brush here. Let's see. Now I know that alcohol glue picked up some of the red. So I don't know if this if this acrylic paint will do the same thing. It doesn't look like it. Cool. Yep, I'm liking this. Kind of give it a little bit of interest. Now, I can even paint over this fabric. Okay. And I think that kind of adds just another layer. And I like to do stuff like this because this is my way of saying this is not that precious. It's not so precious to me that I can't alter it. I can't make it my own. I can't make it better. Like, I love being able to do that because it allows me to get creative, and it allows me to really be free when I go ahead and submit to that and say, okay, this is not that precious. Like, there is gonna not be earth-shattering, world-ending crises that happen if I add paint to this. Okay, so there's that. That's cool. Let me hit it with the heat gun. Okay, so if I did it on the outside, might as well just go ahead and do it on the inside. So let's just add a little paint. The other reason why I like to do this is because whoever would get this journal, maybe they're too afraid to journal in it. They believe it's too precious. Well, if they see that I've already put some messy marks, then that kind of, sometimes it allows them to be free and say, you know what, I bought this journal so that I could be creative and free and explore, all of my creative endeavors. And this is welcoming me because I already see there's marks on it. So this is telling me, hey, it is okay to journal in this. And yeah. All right, let's hit this with the heat gun. Okay, so good with this. Kind of just smash it down. Get a piece of paper here. Smash down, get any excess paint. All right, cool. Okay, so now let's go back to this. What do we want to do with all of these little strips? Now, I know what you're thinking because I'm thinking the same thing. Could these be like the little stems, and these little guys are my flowers? Now that's cute. I do like that. Is it my style? I don't know. I gotta see. If I can make it wonky enough, then I'd be okay with it. All right, that's not bothering me. That's not bothering me. Let's do like this one. Okay. Uh-oh, lost one of my flowers. Oh, there it is. And okay, so I like, let me cut it down just a little bit. So I like having just the one on the back side, because to me that's wonky. Ooh, and I like it off to the side. Okay, I could do that. And then 3 here. That doesn't bother me too much. It does seem a little, I don't know, matchy maybe. Let me see if I can switch it around a bit. I do like the colors. Now that's cool. Okay, so if I put this one here, then that takes care of this, and then that will hold that in place. I got that one. I got this one. This one's going to have to come up some more. This one. Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's not too bad. I do think I could get on board with it. Let me see if I have any other colors real quick. All right, I'll just grab all my yo-yos. I'm looking for some funky and some wacky. Funky and wacky. Something unexpected. Something that is, I'll be honest, I love ugly. I love ugly. I love it when people say something is ugly, because then I'm like, oh, yeah, no, my friend. That's not ugly. Okay, like this. Check it out. This is Tinkerbell. Love it. What if I threw that in? Now, that's kind of cool because, nope, I'm going to keep that green. Because that purple is like, whoa. All right, that not hating on that. Let's see what else I have. So anyway, back to ugly. I love it when somebody says something is ugly or it's out of fashion or out of date. I saw the other day something where somebody posted and it said trends, so TRENDS. Trends are set in order to make people feel left out. And I was like, huh, that makes total sense. Trends are created in order to make others feel left out. You know what? I am not hating on that because I totally agree that is, yeah, that's the very definition of a trend. And it's to make you feel like you're left out so that, guess what? You go and buy whatever it is that they're selling, whoever they is. I don't know who they is, but so yeah, there we go. So I like to find things that are out of trend because just because someone decided that it wasn't pretty or useful anymore or in fashion anymore doesn't mean it still doesn't have beauty. Like, oh my God, I feel like I need to have that embroidered on a pillow or something. Yeah, so there you go. I think that's kind of cool. All right. I am loving these purples because this is old. The book is old. The quilt is old. Heck, even the flashcards were old. But this is like modern fabric. This is like Tinkerbell. And the juxtaposition of that up against all this new stuff. Okay, that's kind of, I'm thinking that's kind of cute. I love replacing that with an orange. Now see, this is Gina. This is Gina right here. And yeah, I like it. Okay, let me see if I want to change this green out. I don't quite know if I want to, because I really do like that green. So this is, again, more of that modern fabric. And I like it, but did I go too far? So let me go back to this. Okay. You know what? I think I'm going to keep it just like it is. I think that's going to work. I just look and I say that as I'm still looking through here, trying to see if there's any other ones that are calling my name and saying, hey, I'm ugly. Put me on your journal. I also like to personify my my crafting, journaling, art supplies, because if I do that, then I feel like I'm giving love to, things that maybe were feeling neglected. I used to always do that with my brother, and I would do that with like our stuffed animals when it was time to go to bed or whatever, and we would make sure they'd all get tucked in and all that good stuff because, we didn't want anybody to feel left out. Okay, that pink, I don't know. Now, some of you guys are probably right now going, yes, no, as I'm playing around. I really like that. Trying to think. All right, we'll go pink. We're going to go pink. Okay, because I don't want to mess up anything where I have stuff, I'm going to glue these little guys down, and then what I'll do is I'll go put the stems in a minute. So I'll be honest, I'm not for sure how you're supposed to use these yo-yos. I've always just seen them, and I was like, oh, those are cool. But I never really knew like how you were supposed to use them. I want this one to be really tall, like absurdly tall, like doesn't fit in tall. So I just always, use them with the puckery side up. I don't know if that's what you're supposed to do, but that's what I'm going to do. And I'm gluing these in place because I don't want to mess up their placement. I like how these guys are all placed right now. So this one, I have this one a little off to the side. Let's put this in. Now, I've got that there, so this one's going to have to come down a bit, okay? Because I don't want them right across from each other. I want to be intentional about where I put this one, so we'll put it right there. And then my other little Tinkerbell, so I don't want to put it right across from here, so let me go back to where this was, and I could put it there, and then it kind of overlaps. Now that I can get on board with. Yes. Okay. Yes, cool. All right. So let those sit in place for a sec. Now, what could I do? Okay. So remember this green, right? I think I come up with a way that we can still get that green in here. Let me move and grab. I'm gonna move and grab. So this is some golden fluid acrylic, and I like it. This is green gold. I like it because it looks green, but when you spread it out, especially if you mix it with white, it'll really it gets very translucent, meaning some of the light goes through it and you can see the green and the gold. So let's add some, see what it does. Okay, it's working for me. Yep, like that. Cool. And then I'm going to go back into what I have left of this blue and tone it down just a scotch with what I have left of this blue. And again, I'm just making this up, guys. This is just me being me. There's no rules. And if I messed this up, it's not that big of a deal, because guess what? I have more flashcards and I could make more stems. Okay, cool. All right, let's glue these stems down. So this one's kind of already glued, so this is going to be easy. I think what I'll do is I'm just going to use some Elmer's glue. This cover is nice and matte and it's porous, so I should have no problem getting this to adhere. Because I'm a little apprehensive about this red running, I'm not going to put a whole bunch on. I'd like to keep my glue underneath the flashcard and not let it ooze out. Okay, now I'm gonna put this one a little off center. Okay, so I'm gonna go like this, and I kind of like that. Let's see if I can make this one a little off center too. There you go. That's another thing that I like to do, is because I do have such hard time lining things up and keeping the things straight and linear and all that good stuff. I like to capitalize on my messiness. And so if it's going to be a little off center anyway, why not go ahead and be intentional about it? And that is my style. Now there are people that do not like that, and that's okay. That's their style. So you're kind of, as you are listening to me ramble, I'm kind of giving you a little what is my style lesson today. And this is all just based on my experience, and hopefully it's gonna maybe give you something to think about as you're creating. What is your style? What are the things that make you you? And what's even more important is, what are the things that you do, and after you've done them, you look at it and you're like, yeah, that's not me. It's pretty, but that's not me. Okay, so now I've got all of this in place. Cool, cool, cool. And I like that. Yes, yes. I think I'm gonna maybe do some stitching. So let me get my cushion board out. Let me grab an awl. And if you don't have an awl, you can always use a thumbtack. And then let's just do some messy stitches, okay? And I'm into my X's right now, just because it's a simple stitch. And I am not a professional embroidery artist, although boy, wouldn't that be cool if I was. So I'm not all gonna, get all jazzed up about my stitches and stuff like that, because I'm just doing this for fun and to get just to get some interest going in here. So I can already tell I don't like. Okay, so I'm either gonna have to go out to the edge here, or I'm gonna have to go in here. I think I'm gonna go in here. And the reason why is because I could probably connect with this fabric, and then that will like tack that fabric in place. It's already glued, but now when I do that, it's like I'm connecting the fabric to the rest of the art, and that is one of the things you can do to kind of keep this all cohesive and keep it together. Okay, so I like that. I'm going to take a little bit of glue just to keep it in place while I'm stitching. Make sure I lined up my holes. Of course, it doesn't matter with this fabric because this fabric is so old. There's all kinds of holes in it. Okay, so there we go. And let me figure out what color I want. Well, what kind of fabric first and then what color. Okay, I'm not hating on that. That's kind of cool. I like that. What else do I have in here? I like that. But, maybe, nope. I feel like I want to go darker because these are light and I want to pull in some dark again. But I also want to keep with the fun. This color, where was that color? Wherever that hunter green was, that's more serious. I don't know if I want to be that serious. Here it is. I don't know, maybe I do. So this is more serious and muted. This is more fun. But is this too much fun? Let's take that off. Yeah, I think it's too much fun. All right, so we're gonna tamp down our fun here. Now, this is a mess. This is a mess. So all this embroidery floss that I have here, this is stuff that I've picked up at thrift stores, and it's just kind of ones that people used and then maybe abandoned a project or abandoned. Here's the thing, these are two different colors. Actually, there's two different colors there. I like that. We'll mix and match. And so they're kind of old. I do not use embroidery floss to bind my journals because I do want, when I bind, remember binding your spine and binding, and then the paper itself are going to give your journal that integrity. So I don't use thrifted, and I don't use embroidery floss because it's not strong enough. Cool. I'm going to stitch, and I'm going to make this go a little bit faster by not talking. So I finished my stitching, and again, it kind of took on a life of its own, and yeah, I ended up doing stuff that I didn't even know was a possibility. I liked how, first of all, I used different colors. I found some different colors of greens. I liked having these guys hang down because I just thought that added some more fun and wonkiness. And then when I got done, I was going to stitch up here, but I found this little scrap of fabric just sitting over here, and it fit perfect in that corner, so I glued it all down. I may put a couple messy stitches right here just to kind of show how they're connected, but I really think this has turned out cute. I'll just go down and add a little bit more glue wherever I need to secure it, or add a couple of more stitches. And now I'm ready to add in my signatures, and this will then be a completed journal. So I appreciate you guys staying around with me, hanging out and watching as I went through my creative process. I wanted to let you know that this will be available once I get it all done. And like I said, I think I'm going to try to do 3 signatures in this. We'll have to see. But I also have one more journal that I finished up this week. This one right here. Wow. I haven't done a journal like this in forever. So this is a 3 signature, and it is old quilt, very old quilt, doily. And then I met a new friend last week. She lives close to me, and she had some quilt blocks that were done with old feed sacks, and they were Dresden plates. And she allowed me to purchase some from her. And so I had just been dying to use them. I used some other old fabric because I thought they went well together, and then just kind of did a bunch of messy stitches. And yeah, that was the cover. So on the inside, I used, this is an old coloring book, and it's on really thick paper. I've used it before in journals quite a while ago, but I cut it down, and I actually used it as the insides of the cover, so the inside of the cover. So I just cut it down, and there's 2 little pieces of it. And then this is a flashcard for the spine, and it's got some trim pocket. And guys, this journal is juicy, juicy. So wallpaper and some ledger paper. Look at this. Check this book page out that I had put some paint on, and then just sewed it together with old game money. And this is fabric from her quilt blocks that she allowed me to purchase from her. This is an old, oh my gosh, Popular Mechanics book, but it's a really nice paper. So I thought that would be kind of cool. And some more of that doily, some more of the Dresden plate, more wallpaper. And I don't know why, but this right here, that is gorgeous. I would love, like, I can imagine what would go on that other side. Some letterhead. And I just had so much fun with these pages, creating these pages and coming up with new page designs. So like just kind of stitching, doing a whole bunch of different stitching papers together and flashcards. And then there was this little pocket right in here. And then like, yeah, like this was just, whew, I had so many good feelings going into this journal. And check this out. So this is the fabric on this side. This is a quilt, like a piece to put into a quilt block. So here's the front side, and then I stitched it. So here's the back side. So yeah, this is also up for grabs. So if you are interested in this journal, when I finish with this journal, let me know by sending me either an email, which is stellarjstudios@gmail.com, or DM me in my Instagram. And it'll just kind of be first come, first served. But just know that if you're not able to purchase one of these now, I am not done making journals, so there will be plenty of these left. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you some inspiration to go out and look for some old books and see if you can make a really cool book cover. And if you are interested in seeing how to make the signatures, leave me a comment, and that could be content for another video coming up soon. Until then, I hope you are healthy. I hope you're happy. I hope you do something creative today. And if you are in the Kansas City area, just to let you know, I am teaching a class through Magpie On March 29th, it's going to be an intro to junk journaling class. I am so excited. There are only 20 spots available, but I will leave the link to Magpie Creative Reuse Collective in the description below. So if you are around and you think you might want to take part in this class, be sure to get registered now. All right, my friends, talk to you soon. Bye.